We begin in East Africa, and Pope Francis' first visit to the continent. The pontiff held an open-air mass attended by tens of thousands in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, on Thursday. He urged young people in Africa to build a society that is fairer and more inclusive. The head of the Roman Catholic Church is urging Christians and Muslims to communicate with one another to guard against radicalization and acts of violence in the name of God. Bridging Muslim-Christian rifts is one theme of his first tour of Africa. The Pope will also visit the poor and youth in Kenya Friday before heading to Uganda and Central African Republic. Now, for more on the Pope Francis' full day in Nairobi, Jill Craig, VOA East Africa correspondent, joins me live via Skype. Jill, what a rainy day it was in Nairobi, but it looks like everything went as planned.
Yeah, things went very, very well today, Vincent. And as you mentioned, it was raining quite heavily starting last night. This morning, I would say it kind of maybe slowed down to a drizzle, but a pretty consistent drizzle. And so the ground was muddy. People started coming to the university around 3 a.m. We heard some reports that people actually spent the night outside just to make sure that they would get to see the Pope at Mass the next day. So with all of that, I will say that the Mass went very well. The security forces were quite vigilant, going through bags, making sure everyone was searched. So I would say that overall, it was a very good day. And, you know, when you talk to people at the Mass, they don't complain about the fact they had to get up early. They may mention it, but they don't complain. And they don't complain about the rain or the mud. Basically, they just say, you know, we're so thankful and honored and grateful to be able to see Pope Francis here in Kenya. So I think that sort of trumped any sort of other worldly concerns.
What are some of the things that stood out of his Mass today, his messages?
Sure. Pope Francis's message has basically been one of peace and reconciliation. So, you know, actually, before the Mass started, he had met with interreligious leaders during a meeting. So I think that was probably fresh in his head when he went to the Mass. And so, you know, he urged people, especially young people, to be cognizant of radicalization, for example. And, you know, the fact is that we have one God. And so he basically said, you know, let us make sure that we are, you know, honoring that God together, and that violence has no place in any religion. So he sort of reiterated that. But, you know, at the same time, he also said that Kenyans have the responsibility to not foster arrogance in men, is what he said. He said you have the responsibility not to demean or hurt women. And he said you need to protect the innocent unborn. So he made family values a very big part of his homily today. He also sort of extolled African traditional values, as he said. And he said, you know, Africans are known for being kind to their elderly, being good to their elderly, and also to being kind to children. And he extolled those virtues. And he said, you know, Africans and Kenyans, you need to sort of make sure that you're living by that. And I think that message resonated with a lot of Kenyans afterward, especially when you talk to them and they said, yes, we agree with what the Pope said. And, you know, we're honored that he said that.
And we know that tomorrow, Friday, is his last day in Kenya. What are some of the things planned before he jets out to Kampala?
Sure. Tomorrow morning, he kicks his schedule off with a visit to the Kangemi slum in Nairobi. So this is a place that is very congested. The estimates are it's hard to know for sure, but estimates are that there's about 200,000 people that live there in this congested area. You know, and so poverty is rampant, and it's one of the many slums in Nairobi. So he's not going there specifically for Kangemi. He's going there as a representative of the slums in Nairobi and just sort of addressing poverty, which has been one of his big tenets of his papacy throughout. So he'll be conducting Mass at a local parish in Kangemi. People are very excited. I spoke with one woman today who was unable to take the Eucharist during the Mass today, but she was excited because she said, well, I still get to see him tomorrow in Kangemi in my neighborhood. So I'm very excited about that. So I think that means a lot to people to be able to see the Pope interacting with a population that I think is many times overlooked, especially when dignitaries come into town. Mm-hmm. So that means a lot. And so that will be the first thing. And then he'll go ahead.
Thank you. Well, that's great reporting there, Jill. Thanks a lot. And we look forward to hearing more from you in the coming days. Jill Craig, Voice of America, reporting from Nairobi.